Hello, everyone, dear viewers of the channel. I am Halyna, the guardian of secrets, a researcher of mystical phenomena, and here with me is Vadym, a historian interested in folk culture.
And together, we delve into the enigmatic corners of Ukrainian folklore, trying to understand not just the stories, but the deeper meaning they hold for us. Today, Halyna, you've promised to take us deep into the heart of Ukraine's ancient forests to explore the elusive spirits said to dwell within. A captivating journey into folklore and forgotten tales of the wilderness, indeed.
That's right, Vadym. Our forests are not just collections of trees. They are living, breathing entities, ancient sanctuaries teeming with energies and beings that our ancestors knew intimately. For centuries, the dense Ukrainian woodlands have been home to whispers of the Mavka, the playful but dangerous Lisovyk, and even the solitary Chuhayster. These aren't just characters in fairy tales. They are integral to our understanding of ourselves, our land, and our connection to nature. Losing these stories, for me, means losing a part of our very soul as Ukrainians.
I understand your passion, Halyna. The deep reverence for nature is undeniable in our culture, and these figures certainly embody that. However, as a historian, I'm always looking for the practical origins, the societal needs that might have shaped these beliefs. For instance, the Mavka, the beautiful forest nymph who lures men to their doom. Is she perhaps a metaphorical warning about the dangers of the forest itself, like getting lost or encountering predatory animals? Or even a cautionary tale against succumbing to base desires, leading to destructive outcomes?
Well, those interpretations certainly have their place, Vadym. They miss the profound emotional and spiritual core. The Mavka isn't merely a warning. She is a spirit born from the unbaptized dead, particularly young women who drowned or perished unnaturally. She embodies the wild, untamed beauty of the forest, but also its sorrow and potential for danger. Her green eyes and flowing hair of moss, her back often visible as the bare bark of a tree, these are not just metaphors. They are vivid images that reflect a belief in the forest as a liminal space, where the boundary between life and death, beauty and terror is thin. People truly believed they could encounter her. They felt her presence.
That sense of presence is powerful, and I don't deny its psychological impact. The human mind is adept at pattern recognition, often seeing faces in clouds or figures in shadows, especially in an unfamiliar or awe-inspiring environment like a dense forest. Combine that with the rustling of leaves, the creaking of branches, the calls of nocturnal animals, and it's easy to project supernatural entities onto these natural phenomena. The story of the Mavka might have served as a powerful narrative to keep people respectful, even fearful, of straying too deep, especially during vulnerable times like twilight.
But what about the Lisovyk, the benevolent yet sometimes mischievous forest master? Our ancestors would leave offerings for him, bread, salt, tobacco, at the base of old revered trees. They believed he could lead them to berries and mushrooms, protect their livestock, or, conversely, lead them astray, tangle their fishing nets, or even hide their children if angered. This suggests a more complex relationship than just fear. It speaks to a desire for communion, for a reciprocal relationship with the wild. These were not just stories to explain sounds. They were rules for living harmoniously with nature.
The Lisovyk is fascinating. From a sociological standpoint, such beliefs could enforce communal rules about resource management. If you take too much or don't respect the forest, the Lisovyk will punish you. This system of belief could have been a very effective way to prevent overharvesting, poaching, or destructive behavior within the forests, ensuring their long-term sustainability. The offerings then become not just appeasement, but symbolic act of gratitude and acknowledgement of the forest's bounty, reinforcing a sustainable relationship. It's a brilliant, pre-scientific ecological framework.
And yet, Vadym, think of the ancient oaks, the sacred groves, where rituals were performed, not just for practical reasons, but to connect with something ancient and profound. I've visited such places, felt the energy, the stillness, the almost palpable sense of history clinging to the bark. Our ancestors didn't just manage the forest, they revered it as a living deity, a source of wisdom and healing. They believed that these great trees were doorways, portals even, where the veil between worlds thin. And when you stand there, sometimes you feel it yourself. You feel a resonance, a slight chill, a sense of being watched. That's not just psychology. That's the lingering memory, the energetic imprint of centuries of belief.
I can see that the emotional resonance of such places is undeniable. The sheer age and scale of ancient trees can certainly inspire awe and a sense of the sublime, leading to profound spiritual experiences. From an anthropological perspective, sacred groves were common across many ancient cultures, often marking places of significant tribal gatherings, rituals, or burials. The energy you feel might be a deep-seated connection to that human history, a subconscious recognition of the sanctity past generations imbued upon the place. It's a powerful collective memory, even if the spirits themselves are metaphorical constructs.
Then there's the Chuhayster, a more unique, less-known figure. He's a benevolent giant, often hairy, who lives deep in the Carpathian forests, sometimes seen dancing merrily or chasing away evil spirits like the Mavka. He's depicted as having no human traits beyond his joy for life and a specific hatred for the Mavka. What could he symbolize? He doesn't seem to fit the typical warning narrative.
The Chuhayster is indeed an interesting anomaly. If we look at him through a symbolic lens, he could represent the resilience and untamed wildness of the Carpathians themselves, a protector figure, perhaps a personification of the raw protective power of the mountains. His joy could be seen as a celebration of life in the face of nature's harshness, and his opposition to the Mavka might symbolize the balance of nature, where one wild force keeps another in check. Or, more prosaically, perhaps he's a folk memory of a solitary, eccentric hermit who lived in the woods, whose unusual appearance and habits were exaggerated over time into a giant legend.
I don't know, Vadym. I believe there's more to it than just hermits and ecological frameworks. These stories often come with specific protective rituals. For example, when entering a deep forest, our grandmothers would often wear specific amulets, or tie a red thread around their wrist, or even utter a small incantation to ask for safe passage from the Lisovyk. They weren't just being cautious, they were actively engaging with the spiritual realm, seeking favor. It's about respect, yes, but also about a deeply ingrained belief that unseen forces directly impact our lives. These aren't just quaint customs, they are living prayers.
And those protective rituals, from a historical and psychological standpoint, are incredibly effective. Amulets and incantations provide a sense of control in an unpredictable environment. They reduce anxiety, making people feel safer and more confident, which in turn reduces the likelihood of panic or mistakes. The red thread, a common apotropic symbol across many cultures, is believed to ward off evil. Whether it actually repels a spirit or simply makes the wearer feel secure enough to navigate dangerous terrain more effectively, the outcome is often the same: a safer journey. The belief itself becomes a form of protection.
But what if? What if that sense of security isn't just psychological? What if the belief itself creates a field, an energy that resonates with the mystical fabric of the forest? I've heard countless stories from old women in remote villages about how ignoring these rites led to strange mishaps, sudden disorientation, feeling watched, objects disappearing, or even fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures. One story that always sends a shiver down my spine is of a young man who scoffed at leaving an offering for the Lisovyk, only to find himself completely disoriented in a familiar part of the forest, unable to find his way out for 3 days, feeling a constant cold breath on his neck, until he finally knelt, offered apology and a piece of bread, and suddenly found the path. Was that just panic and coincidence, or something more?
That's a powerful anecdote, Halyna, and it highlights the subjective experience of the uncanny. From a rational perspective, extreme stress and dehydration can certainly lead to disorientation, hallucinations, and a heightened sense of paranoia. The brain, seeking to make sense of a terrifying situation, will readily attribute these experiences to the supernatural, especially when primed by folklore. The moment he offered the bread and found the path, it could be a psychological release. He performed the ritual, believed he was safe, and thus his mind was able to process his surroundings clearly again, allowing him to perceive the path that was likely there all along. It doesn't negate the power of his experience, but it offers a different lens.
I hear your logic, Vadym, but for me, the magic lies in the intersection. It's the truth that people believed it, and that belief shaped their actions and their connection to the land. Whether it's a psychological effect or an actual interaction with a spirit, the reverence and the caution taught by these tales served to protect both the people and the forest. It fostered a deep, abiding respect. And that's something we desperately need to revive today. We've lost that symbiotic relationship with nature, reducing forests to mere resources.
And that's where our perspectives beautifully converge, Halyna. Regardless of whether the Lisovyk is a literal entity or a cultural construct, the ethical framework it provided for interacting with nature was incredibly sophisticated. It taught stewardship, respect, and moderation. These stories, whether they tell of playful spirits or vengeful nymphs, communicate profound truths about balance, consequence, and our place within the natural world. They are cultural touchstones, rich in symbolism, reflecting centuries of human interaction with their environment. They provide a historical window into how our ancestors perceived and interacted with their world.
Exactly. So when we talk about the Mavka or the Chuhayster, we're not just talking about old wives' tales. We're discussing a profound spiritual ecology, a worldview where every tree, every stream, every creature had a soul, a presence. It's about remembering that the wild is not just a place to conquer, but a place to revere, to communicate with, even to fear in a healthy way.